Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most anticipated event of the NFL offseason. After 2 highly intensive months of scouting, film breakdowns, and pro days, we've arrived at the 2024 NFL Draft, with the city of Detroit, Michigan serving as the main stage. This is a city that had seen years of heartbreak, disappointment, and irrelevance. Until last year, when their Detroit Lions assembled an elite front office committed to building a winning football team through this very draft. Or how about the Houston Texans, a laughingstock for much of their brief history? But in selecting quarterback C.J. Stroud a year ago, the entire outlook of the franchise has done a complete 180. It just goes to show that one decision, one pick, one special player can change a team and the hopes and dreams of their fan base forever. For the players themselves, this is an opportunity that they've worked for their entire lives. Through their own drive and hard work, they've earned the right to compete at the highest level. But no one person can climb the mountain alone. These young men will be joined by family, friends, and loved ones who've been on this journey with them from the moment they've dreamed of playing on Sundays. Tonight, those dreams will become reality. But if there's one thing we've come to learn about this draft, it's that anything can happen. There's no telling what we may see. So sit back, relax, and take in this incredible night and the hope it brings to the entire football world. The Gryd Network presents the 2024 NFL Draft, and it starts right now.
That was the voice of Alfred Parsard Jr. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Gryd Network 2024 NFL Draft live reaction show. I am your host, Bryson Carver. Mike Guido will be joining me in just a few minutes. He is our draft expert. You could call him a Todd McShay. You could call him a Daniel Jeremiah. You could call him Mel Kiper. You could call him anybody or anything you want as it pertains to NFL draft expertise. He'll be joining us in just a few minutes. We'll have a plethora of guests, content creators, and everything alike throughout the night. Very, very excited for the show and what we're going to be doing tonight. For the first 30 minutes, going to be doing sort of like a pre-draft sort of show, right? Previewing everybody who's going to be drafted, potentially or not, who could have their name called by Commissioner Roger Goodell at the podium in Detroit, Michigan. Could not be more excited. This is, for me, honestly, a somewhat of a landmark draft because it's my first draft as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which feels weird because for years I was a Cowboys fan, ditched them because of Jerry. But it's another story for another day. I'm a Steelers fan, first draft as a Steelers fan. Very excited. We got a loaded, and I do mean loaded show on tap for you guys tonight, so definitely stay tuned. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Gryd Network 2024 NFL Draft live reaction show. Before we get to Mike, I did want to say this to start the night. So, as is the case with most drafts, we talk about the quarterbacks. We talk about, in this year's draft, guys like Jaden Daniels. We talk about Drake May. J.J. McCarthy's gotten a lot of hype in the last month or so. You talk about sort of the low first round, at least projected. We'll see what happens tonight. Low first round guys, but one of which I really love, and Michael Penix Jr., one that others love more than I do, in Bo Nix. It's a loaded quarterback draft in many ways, shapes, and forms. Some will pan out, some will not. But I think it is absolutely undeniable that the most likely, not saying he will, but the most likely to pan out the next level is a young man out of the University of Southern California of the name of Caleb Williams. It's been a surefire. He's been a surefire first overall pick. It feels like for about a year now, really since he won the Heisman Trophy in 2022. USC obviously didn't have the season they quite thought that they'd hoped they'd have, but Caleb still put up an impressive statistical output, had 41 overall touchdowns on the season. But Chicago's got the number 1 overall pick, and they have nobody else to thank but Ryan Poles, the general manager, and to a certain degree the Carolina Panthers, for the fact that Chicago, we see teams get the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And most times it's because point blank, they sucked. They were a bad football team in every sense of the word. Chicago's a little different. Chicago had the number 1 overall pick in 2022. They traded it to Carolina, got DJ Moore and a host of other draft picks, which ended up one of them being this one tonight to start. Justin Fields was at times productive, but more often than not inconsistent. He's now with my Steelers, and that trade signified that the Bears would go after one Caleb Williams with the first overall pick in this draft. It feels to a certain degree like a formality, like many drafts we've seen just last year in the NBA draft when Victor Wembanyama was taken by the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not saying that Caleb is going to be Wemby necessarily, but when you look at overall his entire package, what he brings to the table in terms of his overall raw ability, it's about as good as any prospect you've seen, I would argue, since Andrew Luck. We talk about elite arm strength, elite accuracy, mobility, being able to get outside the pocket. Accuracy doesn't dip. He can make throws inside the pocket. He's 6'2", so not seemingly too tall. He's not. I never thought I'd mention this name tonight. He's not like a Mike Glennon, but he's also not a Bryce Young, right? He feels like that perfect sort of size. He's around the same height as Patrick Mahomes, and there's a lot of similarities between the two, between Caleb Williams and between the now 3-time Super Bowl champion and 2-time league MVP, Mr. Mahomes. And I think a lot of the hype and a lot of the discussion around Caleb Williams in this draft centers not necessarily as much on his play, because his play is undeniable. Even the biggest Caleb Williams skeptics would tell you it's quite obvious. It is some of the eccentric off-field behavior. Let's put it that way, right? No legal history, nothing of that nature, but the fact that Caleb Williams tends to be a guy, right? He has a different fashion taste. He was caught at I shouldn't say caught. He was at a USC women's college basketball game, pink phone case, pink fingernails, and that was a big controversy, obviously, of the situation last season after USC. I believe they lost to Washington, and a guy I think should get selected pretty early tonight in Michael Penix Jr., and he went into the stands, cried in his mother's arms. There's a lot of debate about that. Like, is there a certain level of composure you got to show at the quarterback position, especially when you're a franchise quarterback of the Chicago Bears? I've said on my show, Carving It Up, throughout the entire offseason and draft process, those particular concerns do not bother me so long as it's just limited to that. If Caleb Williams is a guy like a Tom Brady, who tends to be, at least late in his career, eccentric in his fashion taste, Patrick Mahomes is to a certain degree. If that's the biggest, I guess, knock on Caleb Williams, then I'm not as worried. Now, if there's off-field stuff, if it's a Johnny Manziel situation, if it's a Baker Mayfield situation, maybe I start to have some questions. But by and large, if you talk to his teammates, you talk to his head coach at USC, Lincoln Riley, they all love him. They all say he's, that they like his leadership skills. They like to be around him, in the locker room. And obviously, again, his raw ability speaks for itself. So we'll see what happens throughout the duration of the night. But if there's one guarantee, it would feel like, outside of potentially Joe Alt going to the Tennessee Titans, and that's not necessarily a guarantee, it feels like Caleb Williams to the Chicago Bears is nothing more than a formality. We'll see it play out tonight. We'll see the other 31 picks tonight. And for more discussion on that, I invite the co-host of the Bi-Coastal Baseball Podcast. But tonight, he is our version of Mel Kiper. Would you please welcome back to the Gryd Network 2024 NFL Draft Live Reaction Show? It is Mike Guido. Mike Guido. It looks like we don't have Guido in here. Let's see if we can get him on. There he is. Mike Guido is on the Gryd's 2024 NFL Draft Live Reaction Show. Guido, my man, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Bryson. This is Christmas in April. I feel great. I was sitting at my desk at work this morning, ready to jump out of my seat with excitement. This is always a great show. This is always a great time of the sports year. Very exciting. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. And this is, I talked about earlier, this is a quarterback's draft in many ways. There could be 6 guys, not just go in the first round. I saw him one mock draft. It might have been Daniel Jeremiah. It might have been somebody else that had 6 quarterbacks in the first 13 picks, which I'm not sure if that's ever, I'm not sure if 6 have ever went in the first round or how long it's been since this occurred. Certainly within the first 15 picks, that would go to show you, A, the depth of the quarterbacks, the quarterback talent in this draft, and B, how much the league has changed and pivoting to being a quarterback-centric league, and certainly an offensive play calling-centric league. But I'm looking at your draft board right now. We don't have a graphic of it right off the bat, but I'm looking at your draft board, and you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Caleb Williams, who I just talked about, as your second overall player. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. as your number 1 overall player, the receiver out of Ohio State, who is about as technologically sound as we've seen any receiver come out. Tell me why he's your number 1 receiver, or number 1 player, rather, on your board.
He's just phenomenal in every sense of the word. He has the speed that can take the top off of defense. He's the most refined route runner that I've seen in this class, without a doubt. He has great size. He's got great hands. Pretty much everything that you'd want in a receiver, he has. And listen, I think if you asked around, I think there are a lot of people that would say, listen, if there was a guy that you could say is almost a sure thing in this draft, the safest pick that you can make for a potentially perennial Pro Bowl player. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is that guy. He's just got the entire package from everything that I've heard. Obviously, I've never personally met him, but I've heard that he's not at all a problem off the field. He's a good locker room kid. So listen, just the entire package. He looks like a pro-ready wide receiver. I think he steps into the NFL day one, and he makes one team way, way better in their receiving corps just because he becomes a part of it.
Because obviously there's a lot of teams that could use a number one wide receiver, certainly at the top of the draft. We can go ahead and show you, the draft list as it sits here today. Yeah. Obviously, Chicago and Washington are both going to go quarterbacks. We'll see how that develops throughout the night. New England, I saw a report like just about 30 minutes ago from Tom Pelissero saying they were likely going to use their third overall pick. We'll see what they do with that. Arizona, he's been mocked to the Cardinals, so it has Marvin Harrison Jr. Where do you think is the most likely destination? Where have you had him mocked most recently?
I've had him mocked to the Cardinals forever. I mean, it just feels like that's a perfect marriage. The Cardinals are in desperate need of perimeter help. They need wide receivers. And listen, in a situation where you can likely have the top 3 picks in this draft all be quarterbacks, I think he almost just falls into their lap. Like it just magically happens that way. So I've had him mocked to the Cardinals forever. I have him mocked to the Cardinals now. My latest mock draft I just published on Twitter just about 30 minutes ago. So listen, I just think it's a perfect marriage. And I think Kyler Murray would very greatly appreciate a potential number 1 receiver finally in Arizona outside. And that's nothing against DeAndre Hopkins, but DeAndre Hopkins' prime was prior to his tenure in Arizona. So I think they could blossom together really, really nicely if that marriage ends up happening.
Well, not to mention DeAndre Hopkins wasn't there that long. So that comes into the fray as well. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in, rookie contract. We've already got some comments. Like to see what you think here. Everybody, by the way, feel free to chime in the comment section. We'd love to hear your thoughts throughout this show. Zach C says, if the Giants take J is in JJ McCarthy, we riot. Listen, I have... I wouldn't say similar in the sense of riot, but similar feelings about J.J. McCarthy in terms of my overall skepticism of him as a player. Dylan Lima says the Chargers are probably going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I doubt the Chargers take a wide receiver. I think they either go offensive line or trade back. Again, we'll talk about that more. But J.J. McCarthy, to me, he is the most interesting of the quarterback prospects in the sense that if you asked either of us, I think a year ago, hey, J.J. McCarthy is getting mocked as high as 3rd overall in the draft, I think we would have looked at you like you had 5 heads. Yes. But now you obviously see last season play out. Again, my overall analysis of J.J. McCarthy is he's pretty athletic, right? If there's some comparisons to Mac Jones in like the game manager sense, he's far more athletic than Mac Jones. He's got a better arm than Mac Jones. His arm is somewhat underrated, accurate on, short intermediate routes. I just don't know if you can drop J.J. McCarthy into a situation where it's, hey, you carry us, you be the franchise guy. It's why I think a situation like a Minnesota Vikings could be a potentially good fit for him, as well as it would be for Drake May, but for very different reasons. Your thoughts on J.J. McCarthy? Where do you kind of view him amongst the quarterback prospects this draft?
Yeah, I've kind of been confused by how many people really think of him that highly, just because, listen, I think most of the country, and not even just people that are interested in the draft, but people that are just interested in college football watched a lot of Michigan games. And I'll just pose this question. How many times did you watch Michigan and J.J. McCarthy wowed you? I never watched a Michigan football game and thought to myself that J.J. McCarthy was this phenomenal, uber talented quarterback prospect that was going to thrive at the next level. I just never saw it, right? I see his arm talent as fairly average. I actually see it in certain scenarios, especially in deep ball passing scenarios. I actually see it as kind of subpar. I don't really see the uber top of the draft potential for him. Now, do I think that he could be a quality starter in the league? Absolutely. I think with the right system, under the right coaching, everything like that, I think that he can be a fine NFL player. He's certainly athletic. He certainly has capabilities. He apparently was killing the pre-draft process. He interviewed really well. He's a smart player. He has all that going for him. So I understand all that. But I just think that as far as physical capabilities, the arms talent and the production level at the college level, despite the fact that Michigan was so good, I never thought it was really because of him. It was just it was a lot of I'm a little iffy on him. I have JJ McCarthy ranked as my 35th overall player. Like, he's just, to me, he's a second round prospect. Like, that's just how I view him.
No, I agree with you, and I think obviously Michigan was led at least offensively by their O-line, their running game. Obviously, Blake Corum had another great season a year ago when Michigan won the national title. A couple comments. Patrick Brown, our colleague here at the Gryd. What's up, fellas? Happy draft day. Same to you, Patrick. Dylan says if JJ didn't win the national championship, he wouldn't be a first-round pick. There might be some truth to that, and obviously his head coach Jim Harbaugh, now the head coach of the Chargers. Again, it's why I've hesitated to compare him to Mac Jones, because I do think he's more talented than Mac was. I was never high on Mac Jones out of Alabama. I always viewed him as like a second, third round prospect. Right. But this does feel like very similar. I remember back in that time, and obviously we know now the Niners made the wrong selection taking Trey Lance. It seems like every team made the wrong selection outside the Jaguars that year. But nonetheless, I remember the Niners were mocked multiple times to get Mac Jones. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get why they would go from sort of a low ceiling guy in Garoppolo and go to another low ceiling guy in Mac Jones. And like for the New England Patriots, who have the third pick this year, I feel like that's the worst possible situation because they need a roster overhaul completely. It's why I defend them trading back in this draft. Although, again, according to Pelissero, it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. Listen, there's other great prospects in this draft. Who is... Maybe this feels a little early to ask, but who's the biggest sleeper in your mind in this draft? Any position, offense, defense? This is more of an offense-loaded, at least first round, portion of this draft. Who's sort of your most underrated player on the board right now, Guido?
So it's kind of interesting because it's kind of a tough question to answer only because I feel like this draft is kind of ranked fairly correctly. Like I don't really see this. I mean, outside of, like I said, I think JJ McCarthy is a little bit, and I don't mean it in the traditional sense of the word, but he's a little bit overranked or overrated than I would have him. But if you look at some of the wide receivers in this draft, right? Like I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a really, really nice NFL player. Just a really great physical receiver that can go up and get any football that you need him to. Great size, big hands, the whole bit. Like he's a really nice player. If you look a little bit later, I think that there are some teams that can go out there and they can get some real speed and production at the receiver position, either later in the first round or maybe into the second round. Guys like Xavier Worthy, guys like Troy Franklin, guys like Keon Coleman. Like, I think those are guys that you can look at to say, okay, we've got guys that are going to be legit NFL receivers and we don't have to use our first round pick on them. Now, again, some of them could end up late in the first, especially Worthy, given his record-breaking 40 time that everybody knows about, right? But I think you could see a lot of different receivers at the end of this draft that can go create an impact pretty much right out of the gate.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little skeptical of Worthy. I feel like it is again. Does the combine matter? Of course it does. I think it matters more for receivers, for DBs, more than it does quarterbacks. Because I'm always in the mindset, aside from arm strength, what am I really going to learn about you? Because there's so much more to being a quarterback than just throwing the ball in a tank top and shorts against air. Like that's
Guys like Xavier Worthy are not going to succeed anywhere that they go, right? Like I think that you need to for guys like Xavier Worthy, right? Specifically, Xavier Worthy is great at like quick intermediate routes and getting him the ball early and letting him work in space, right? If that's what you can do in your offense, then I think that he's going to have a smash success. If you need him to consistently beat guys off the line out of the break, I just don't know that you're going to be able to do that. He's going to see a lot of success in bubble screens, slant routes, a lot of that stuff, like getting him the ball early, getting him into open space, longer developing plays where he can find holes in the offense. That's where he's going to find success, right? Traditional route running and him trying to beat his man all the time. Like that's the thing is he's not a truly traditional, refined route runner. So he's going to beat you with his speed. So let him use his speed. So that's kind of where I go with that. A lot of these like not everybody here is Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Marvin Harrison Jr. has it all. He's not as fast as Xavier Worthy is, but he's fast enough, right? He's just got everything. So all of these receivers have their flaws. It all kind of depends on, and Bryson, you and I both know this, like a lot of your success in the NFL can depend on where you land.
100%.
Right? If the fit is correct, then you'll have some success. If it's not, then, we could see the opposite of that.
Yeah, no question. The thing that scares me a little bit about Xavier Worthy is not just again, obviously the speed is obvious, but I worry a little bit about his size, and I worry more than anything, Mike, about his hands. He doesn't have the greatest hands in the world. He dropped a lot of passes in college. That's one thing. Again, it's unfair to compare him to Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's one of the better receiving talents we've seen.
Yep.
He's the number one player on your board, and I don't think you're necessarily wrong. Real quick before we move on, we do actually have some breaking news, not related to the draft, but in the NFL. According to Adam Schefter, A.J. Brown has signed a 3-year, $96 million extension with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that comes in right before the draft starts. And literally the day after Amon-Ra St. Brown was paid by, or a day or two after Amon-Ra St. Brown was paid by the Detroit Lions. So Philadelphia locks up both the receivers. So as we're talking about receivers, one just signed a massive contract. So there you go. Looks like we got a comment by Jay Lewis. Jay Lewis says, Patriots should definitely trade back, but crap, what's a new quarterback? So we're going to get a new QB. Who do you think? So let me just preface my Patriots question with this, Mike, is that Caleb's going number one. Every single thing that I've read in the past month from sources I really trust, say Jaden Daniels is going to the Commanders. Like that feels not as set in stone as Caleb, but I'd say at about 95% chance that Jaden Daniels goes to the Commanders. So let's say that comes into fruition. Assuming the Patriots do select a quarterback, who would you take?
I would take Drake May. Listen, I think Drake May, to me, he's the second best quarterback in the draft. I would take Drake May over Jaden Daniels if I was the Commanders. But again, I have Jaden Daniels as my number 9 overall player. I have Drake May as my number 5, right? Okay. So it depends on who you like better, right? Drake May, to me, is a very close comparison to Justin Herbert. I think he's more athletic than people give him credit for, and I love his arm. There are just some throws that he can make that no other college quarterback can make, even Caleb, right? Like there are just certain throws that Drake May has. His arm talent is phenomenal. And here's the thing, like this is why I think it fits the Patriots so well. They're under Gerard Mayo now, so this is now almost a completely new regime, right? I know people are calling him Bill Belichick Jr., which, again, could pertain to his coaching style. But in essence, you got to keep this in mind. They've gone from, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, none of which are super duper talented, right? And and I'm not saying that please don't take what I'm saying out of context, because I know Brady won as many Super Bowls as anybody. I'm just like, as far as raw,
we saw his 40 time, Mike. We saw his 40 time.
Absolutely right. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Like he just he doesn't have the arm talent or the athleticism of these guys. He won more, but he doesn't have those kind of traits. It feels like for the first time in a long time, the Patriots actually have an opportunity to grab a quarterback that has unbelievable talent at the top of a draft and mold into his capabilities instead of managing their team around their quarterback's limitations. Like that's what I really think that they should be doing. So as much as if you can get something ridiculous in a trade back, if you're the Patriots, fine, take it. But I also say you really have an opportunity here to take a quarterback that is more talented than maybe any quarterback that you've had in your recent history. Like you really have the opportunity to mold the kid into what you think you can make. And the talent is endless. So that's what I would do. I would take Drake May. And again, if Drake May gets taken by the Commanders, I'd take Jaden Daniels. Like I would just say, take whoever's available out of those two and roll with it. That's what I would do.
The thing with Drake May is I find him a very fascinating player in the sense that if you go back to certain drafts, you mentioned the comparison to Justin Herbert, his mechanics look like Herbert. So I absolutely see what you're talking about. Right. Is when you have a guy with that sort of raw ability, and like you said, you sort of kind of have to mold him to a certain degree, because he does have, his decision-making isn't always the greatest. He's got the one area where he's not similar to Herbert at all. And it's the only area to me a big factor in Herbert being as successful a quarterback as he is the fact that he's got a massive arm, but unlike most massive arm quarterbacks, he doesn't have to show you as a massive arm. He doesn't take necessarily risks that don't need to be taken. Drake May sometimes does. Now, again, some of those, one thing we forget, and I forget, I think it might have been Joel Klatt say today, is that when we watch the tape of these players, a lot of times we've got to analyze what we're seeing based on the context of what the situation was in the game. Yes. Is it a third down? Is it off play action? We got to, analyze those different things. Correct. But listen, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, same draft, were very, very, very raw players, but went to the right situation and they developed him. And now Lamar's a multi-time MVP and Josh is a top 5 quarterback. So, if Drake May is able to go, if New England is able to mold him, and listen, Lamar went to a great franchise. Josh Allen didn't, and props to the Bills for sort of getting their act together over, after 20 years of futility and being able to develop him. But that's going to be a fascinating, aspect of this draft as well. We got some comments. EJ Savage, he says Eagles agreeing a 3-year extension with AJ Brown worth $96 million. So listen, the market is continuing to go up, and the price for Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb is just continuing to go up for the Bengals and the Cowboys. So that's going to be a story to follow. I know you're a big Cowboys fan, so I can't imagine you're loving that. But
Nope.
Listen, it is so Minnesota right now. It feels like it's a matter of when, not if, in terms of them trading out, because they don't acquire the 23rd pick in the draft just for fun, just to take the 4th best edge rusher off the board, or 3rd best.
Yeah.
They seem to want to trade up to get a quarterback. Again, now that the report has come out, the Patriots, they're going to probably use a pick with the 3rd pick. So now, again, we'll pull up the draft board once again. The Chargers feel like, to me, the most likely team because they don't have a ton of picks. They've had to cut a lot of players from their roster, obviously having to move, Keenan Allen to the Chicago Bears, etc. And so you see all those situations. Do you think Jim Harbaugh decides to make the trade with the Minnesota Vikings in order to put himself in position to be successful with the Chargers?
Well, I think if the trade is there, then yes. But I'm also not certain that it's there, right?
Okay.
Like, I think that if the Vikings were really offering, right, because we kind of have to keep this into consideration now, right? Most of the trades that you see, or the mock trades that you see involving the Minnesota Vikings trading up, involve the 11, the 23, and next year's first, right? That's usually the trade that you see from Minnesota. If Minnesota is not offering that, then I got news for you. I don't really know that Minnesota is making the effort to trade up if they're not offering those 3 picks, and honestly, vice versa, because if New England or the Chargers or Arizona or whoever could be entertaining trading down with the Vikings, they might be saying, listen, those are the pieces we need. If you're not giving it to us, then we're not moving. So, but I also think, there were reports earlier today that I think it holds some weight. If Minnesota is trading up, they have to be trading up for a target. Like, I don't know that they're going to be trading up just for a quarterback, right? If Drake May is their guy, right?
Yeah.
And Drake May gets taken by the Patriots, then there's a possibility Minnesota doesn't trade up, right? There's a possibility that they just wait for their next best quarterback to fall, whether it's Penix, whether it's McCarthy, whoever. Like, they could wait for that guy potentially at 11. And even if they get jumped for those guys, okay, we'll do BPA. We got 2 first-round picks. We have Darnold for this year. Let's just kind of roll it out. So I'm not even convinced. I mocked it because you're right. It just kind of feels right to this point, but I'm not certain that it's a guarantee that Minnesota trades up, despite them having the 2 first-round picks.
That's very possible, and I think you do make a good point about them. If they are targeting a certain player and he is gone, then they either just wait for the best guy, or maybe they wait for, who knows, either they take a guy 3rd, 4th round. Maybe they just wait till next year's draft entirely, try and build the roster, roll with Sam Darnold this year, and then see what they do. Because listen, the NFC North, if Caleb is anything close to what you and I think he's capable of being, obviously we saw the Packers, a ton of young talent. Love was awesome the second half of the season. I've been a Lions believer literally since last year's draft, when I did predict them to go to the NFC title game on last year's draft. I just have to throw that out there. Shout out to the Detroit Lions. One of the best rosters in football, where Minnesota could say, okay, we don't really have much of an opportunity, even in a weak NFC. This is now one of the toughest divisions of the league in terms of quarterback play to really go after. So try and build the roster around a potential quarterback next year, I think would not be the worst situation in the world. I want to talk about the Jets for a second, and obviously a quarterback who used to play in the NFC North. So we're getting, in typical Jets fashion, we're getting very conflicting reports on what they're thinking about doing. There's reports that if Roma Dunze falls to them, they take him to pair with Garrett Wilson. Brock Bowers is a freak tight end in this draft. His athleticism is, I saw him in person last year, and he doesn't look like everybody else in the field. He's insane. It feels like, at least from my estimation, I'm curious what you think, that the Jets should go with an offensive lineman, because I think the only chance the Jets have of being a playoff team, much less anything that resembles a contender, is to go with an offensive lineman because of how bad it was last year and the fact that their quarterback is 40 coming off an Achilles surgery. What do you think? Let me pull it. Let's see. You got your mock draft. Let me go and pull out your mock draft here. Or that's part 2 of the first round. So your mock draft, you have them taking Brock Bowers with the 10th overall pick.
Yep.
Do you think that's what? Let me ask you this: is that what they should do, or that's what they will do? Or let me get your thoughts on that.
It's kind of tough to say, right? Because listen, what Aaron Rodgers is there, right? So
Yep.
if their clear goal at the moment is to try to win right now. If they took somebody like Taliesin Fuaga, then I'd be a little, skeptical on, okay, where's he going to play, right? Because they've addressed their tackle positions, right? They traded for Morgan Moses. They signed Tyron Smith. They have tackles. So
Sure.
It depends on if they go for an offensive lineman. That seems to me like a little bit of a future pick. Sure, they can kick them into guard, depending on who they pick, but it took me a while to be convinced of this because they've spoken so highly on Fuaga that I thought that, maybe they would just take him anyway. But listen, if they really want to try and win while Aaron is still there, then I would say they're probably going to take a target, right? If it's Odunze, I would say that it could be Odunze. If it's Brock Bowers, obviously I think that they could use some help at the position. So look, I think it's kind of tough to say what they should do because I don't know that there's a wrong direction they can go. Now, I shouldn't say that. If they pick a defensive player, I think that's the wrong direction to go.
Because that's not their flaw.
But if they get right, exactly. If they go into their offensive line or they pick a weapon for Rodgers, I think I don't know that I'd have an argument against the pick either way. So the Jets are interesting though, because like I said, they have those directions that they can go in. It'll be interesting what they do.
It will be. And like you said, you look at the scores of the Jets games that they lost last year. If they get competence, much less elite play from the quarterback position, which I don't think Aaron Rodgers has shown ability to be elite anymore, certainly a lot better than what they had a year ago with Zach Wilson. So again, if he is upright, if he is healthy, the Jets have an opportunity to contend. The draft is literally starting in just a second. I'll ask you one more question. There's a few teams. There's a Packers situation in 2020 taking Jordan Love. We've seen other situations like that where a team that quote unquote has their guy decides to go with the guy high up in the draft. The Eagles did that the same year, taking Jalen Hurts when they already had Carson Wentz. Is there a team? I've heard Dallas with the Dak contract situation. That's a possibility. I wouldn't be shocked. I know they signed a long extension, but you never know. I would not be stunned if Atlanta, maybe in the 3rd round, decide to go with somebody. I've suggested that if my guy Michael Penix falls to Miami, I would definitely take him because you don't have to change stylistically that much. It's lefty to lefty. 2 is in last year of his deal. One team that everybody assumes has their franchise guy, but could potentially take a quarterback if that guy falls to them.
I mean, it kind of depends on who you think is a franchise guy, right? Because I could throw a couple of teams out there for you. I mean, I know the Raiders are interested in a quarterback. They obviously don't have their guy. Denver obviously doesn't have their guy. I know they're going to be interested, depending on how the board falls, of finding their future quarterback, possibly even tonight. But I'll throw another team out there, and I just want to kind of get your thoughts on this because I don't know if they see him as their franchise guy. But how about the New Orleans Saints? Right? Is it possible that they look at Derek Carr and they're just like, you know what? We're finding him to be a little bit more of a bridge guy. If the board falls the right way, maybe we would entertain somebody. Like if they like Michael Penix enough, right? Or they like Bo Nix enough, are they going to say, you know what? Let's just do it. We'll grab them. We'll get their 5th-year option. We'll address our other needs later on. Now they really need tackle help, but
with Ramczyk out potentially for the year.
Absolutely right. But at the same time, they could also say, listen, if we think that highly of these quarterback prospects and we're a little iffy on Derek Carr, then all right, let's entertain it. So I would say the Saints are an interesting spot there. I don't know that it's likely, but I think it's possible.
It is possible, and I've been a Derek Carr fan for the longest time, but obviously last year, not the season that the Saints were hoping for when they signed him as a free agent. I wouldn't discount it. The Saints seem to finally be moving off. They were in cap hell the last few years. They still to a certain degree are trying to move off some of their older guys, going a younger direction. Obviously, we know they have Chris Olave. They have some other young pieces there. Do they go to quarterback potentially if Derek Carr gets off to a rough start next season? It's not the roster it was 4 years ago, but it's far from one of the worst rosters in the league. You can plug a guy in and Listen, the NFC South, I don't care that Cousins is in Atlanta and Baker had a great season. That's a very winnable division with the roster the Saints have. They almost won it last year. So if they like the guy there, they could, I agree, they could potentially go that direction. We've got somebody else joining us here. He's the co-host of the Fan Perspective podcast and a massive Jets fan, to say the very least. Would you please welcome John Rivera to the Gryd Network 2024 live NFL draft reaction show. John, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm good. Tune in right on time. I heard y'all was talking about the Jets, so I said, let me tap in before I give y'all my reaction on the pick itself. You know what I mean?
Wait, no, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, because I'm thinking tackle. Mike Guido's thinking tight end. Brock Bowers. Where do you think the Jets should go, with the 10th pick, just depending on how it plays out?
Well, I want Joe Alt, obviously, as the the best
He's
tackle.
probably not going to be available.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's probably not going to be available unless Tennessee does something crazy. I think that's where he'll go, Tennessee. I think the Chargers are going to trade out that pick. They just want to just kind of reset the deck and get some more draft picks. But, yeah, if it ain't Joe Alt, man, if a Doomsday falls, I'll take a Doomsday over Brock. And I think, actually, we can slip back in the draft and still get a good tackle. You know what I mean? Like, after Alt, what was the guy that just came off the everyone been talking about now that probably going to Tennessee? What was the offensive lineman?
JC Latham is flying up boards.
Yeah, he is. Listen, since yesterday, I just saw his name. I said they put him over Alt. So hopefully it does fall that way, and we can go Alt. Even if Alt falls like to 8, I could see us moving up. 2 spots right there to 8 with Atlanta, because Atlanta they're basically taking the best defensive player available at the time. You know what I mean? So that's
right. Offensive
wise, like, we're going to be good with Atlanta. The Bears, they don't need a receiver, but they just might do it just to, help Caleb out there. But my dream scenario, like I said, would be Alt. If not, Doomsday. If not, trade back a couple spots and still get, a top 3 offensive lineman in the draft. Because the linemen we signed, we traded for Mosley, and, your guy Smith over there gets hurt a lot. So I think we need that, that stellar guy that we've been missing for the last, since the Brickashaw Ferguson and all that. So even when Roger leaves, like, we still need a corner piece at tackle or something like that. So
I live in New York. I see a lot of Jet fans. I know a lot of Jet fans, and all of them are pretty much telling me that they want tackles. Like, they want O linemen because they don't trust Tyron Smith's health. Aaron Rodgers is aging, right? They want to keep him upright. They saw what happened to Rodgers last year, and they're traumatized. They don't want that to happen again. So every Jet fan that I know wants a tackle badly.
Right. Actually, I'm right with him too.
Listen, go. Oh man, Eminem has just showed up at the NFL draft. I knew he was going to show up when I was seeing some of these promo videos.
It's Detroit, cool. Man.
It's Detroit. Yep.
Yeah, if you don't have Eminem in Detroit, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, that's right.
And by the way,
sports events.
Underrated story. I think Schefter reported today that Roger Goodell is 3 weeks removed from back surgery. So, we'll see if he's able to give those big draft bear hugs. Listen, Goodell's got it in him, right? He can pull it just for one night. I believe the commissioner is able to pull it off. But yeah, listen, go ahead.
I said, I don't know. Some of them hugs be real strong, man. Them boys are big.
Yeah, it's true.
Some of those O-linemen will just lick the guy.
Hits.
Yeah, he been taking some, right? I know his back been hurting the next day. So
he's left some bruises the day after, no question about that. But no, I think he made good points of the Jets. And listen, I think taking a Notre Dame tackle is about as safe of a bet as taking an Iowa tight end. Like those guys tend to work at the next level, like you mentioned with Alt. It feels like Guido, you, and a lot of other folks have had Alt going to Tennessee for a while. But listen, maybe the Chargers steal him, maybe somebody else does. We'll see what happens. But listen, if he were to follow the Jets, looks like Aiden Hutchinson is in the building as well in Detroit. Who else is there? Megatron's there. Here we go, man. They're getting all Detroit's biggest and brightest.
Barry Sanders better be there.
I was going to say Barry.
Yeah, I was going to say,
in the building.
He's better, but he's
yep, there is.
Guy. He's there. Okay. Well, he's a quiet guy, but it's part of the NFL, so he'll be there. And this little blue polo or whatever he always wears all the time, blue or white polo.
He's got like this jacket. It's got number 20. Or Jared Goff's there as well. He's got this jacket. It's got number 20 on it. It looks like a
Detroit
It's got the helmet. Cool. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the new $120 million man, is at the podium as well. So yeah, they're definitely bringing out the stops in Detroit, Kansas City last year. They brought out the Lombardi. So
hey, you got to pay Mike. I got to pay CD. If St. Brown got his money, I got to pay CD. At least, that's the only person I'll pay on your team at the moment.
Yeah, no Micah? You're not paying Micah?
Micah is on the trading block to me, man.
Oh,
wow.
I would trade him, man, and just recoup some picks, man. Because listen, if y'all end up paying all three, that's all y'all gonna have. You know what I mean? So that's kind of hard. You know what I mean? So I would trade him and just get some pieces. But
by the way, I just want to say, because right in the middle of our high-level NFL draft analysis, Mike, my sister came in and just gave me a milkshake to get me through the show. So shout out to my sister.
There you go.
That's right. Coming through the clutch. As always.
Wish my sister gave me milkshakes.
For sure.
I wouldn't last the whole show with a milkshake because I'd be in the bathroom.
That's fantastic. By the way, anybody else see the irony in the fact that Detroit, who's now sort of the new kings of the NFC North, and who knows, might be the kings of the NFC this year, is handing it off to their division rival to being the number one overall pick in the draft? I find that pretty interesting. And
it's interesting. Yeah.
And of course, the entire place is booing Roger Goodell, as is tradition. That's a blast.
Chicago's gonna be dangerous, though, man. Chicago's gonna be dangerous.
Listen, they've got their defense came on at the end of the year. Obviously, they Eberflus is a defensive-minded guy. Ever since they made the Sweat trade a year ago, they turned their defense around. Got pretty hot at the end of the year. They've been able to, they already had DJ Moore. Now they've added, didn't they add DeAndre Swift to that team? They added Keenan Allen. They may take another receiver. Obviously, Caleb's going to end up there. Like, this is not the typical, like Peyton Manning to the Colts in '98, or even Andrew Luck to the Colts in 2012, or Lawrence to the Jags a few years ago, where it's just great quarterbacks talent's going to maybe the worst situation in the league. This is, and now, okay, it's official. The Chicago Bears are on the clock, so the NFL draft is officially open.
Imagine if McCarthy falls to like where the Bears slide in, and Minnesota wants him so bad, and giving them 2 first-round picks, man. Just imagine the Bears. That would be the Bears. That
would, if that were to happen, as great of a trade as it's looked to have already been by Ryan Poles, that might be one of the greatest trades we've ever seen in modern NFL history. Listen, if Caleb pans out, could we really pans out? Could we be thinking like Herschel Walker-esque? You never know.
It's looking that way, though.
But they're showing the trade. The Panthers got Bryce Young. The Bears got DJ Moore. Last year's first, which was Darnell Wright out of the University of Tennessee. Shout out to Darnell. A second rounder last year, and obviously a first round pick this year, being the first overall pick. So safe to say the Carolina Panthers wish they'd made a different decisions that day. But
I miss the beginning of it. But do y'all guys think JJ is going top 5?
I don't discount it.
I think,
especially if somebody trades up.
I do.
You do?
I think it's possible. Yeah.
I think it's smoke screen, but I don't think he go 5. He might go at a weird, like I said, at 7, at 8. You know what I mean? I think he'll fall that way. So then a team will see that he ain't go top 5 and get desperate and move up to get him.
Well, we thought the same, and again, different circumstances. But last year was a pretty good quarterback draft as well, and I thought for sure Levis was going to the Colts with the 4th pick. They obviously went with Anthony Richardson. Levis falls to the 2nd round, so I don't think we'll see a situation like that. I wouldn't be shocked if a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix fell to the 2nd round, but we've seen it before.
Yeah, Bo Nix falls. He's going to fall to the 2nd, or to the late, to the late first, like I was talking about with the Saints. I could see the Saints team or something like that coming back into the first and getting him.
Well, that's what the Ravens did with Lamar. I believe he was the last pick of the 1st round 6 years ago. So that's on, on the deck as well.
Right,
for sure.
So there you go. They're already showing Caleb's footage from USC. Yeah. So again, this is a formality.
He's going. 1 and 2 is a lock to me. Jalen Daniels go to Washington. Drake May should go to New England, but New England, they really trying to reset everything. They just
listen, new regime there. Obviously, again, like I talked about with Guido earlier, a report came out by Tom Pelissero saying that they were probably just going to keep the 3rd pick. I don't think they're going to move it, but again, according to that report, we'll see. Again, if this, like I've talked about on my show for a while, the Patriots decision is really interesting in the sense that could they be like sort of what Mike was talking about with Minnesota, and John, you alluded to it as well, is that if they have their guy that they want really badly and Washington steals him, then they're like, okay, maybe let's just say they take Jaden Daniels, which you and I 1,000% agree, John, I think you do as well, Mike, that Jaden Daniels is going number 2, that if they like Drake May, but they don't. To me, if you're not in love with the pick, with the 3rd overall pick in the draft, at that point, Marvin Harrison Jr. is available. Obviously, Lord knows they need a lot of things, receiver being chief among them, or they could trade back. I think this is a situation where they wait to see who goes with the 2nd pick. It's part of the reason that a report came out yesterday or a couple days ago saying that they haven't received any serious offers. I think that might be because they might be shutting teams down, saying, hey, we're not going to engage in any conversation until we see what Washington does.
Right.
So,
yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see.
That's on the board as well. We got about 6 minutes to go, or 6 minutes left on the clock for the Chicago Bears. I'm shocked. I'm always surprised, like when the Spurs were on the clock last year, when it doesn't say pick is in. I guess the conversation takes longer than expected, but I don't know.
Right.
So I am watching the draft on ESPN at the moment, right?
So am I.
And I am a full 3 minutes behind you.
Are you really?
I am on a 3-minute delay. So when you said there was 6 minutes left on the clock, I was at 9 minutes on the clock.
Oh,
so
man, I'm sorry.
This is
do you want me to spoil it, or do you want to?
No, of course. When the pick happens, tell me. This is the way it's supposed to be. I'm a little disappointed in ESPN's broadband speed or whatever.
Yeah, Bryson always been a little ahead. I remember last year just listening to you guys.
No. Alfred was ahead of us last year.
Alfred
knew the pick before it happened. Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was I was like.
And by the way, I just want to real quick give it. Alfred does some fantastic graphics for us on the Gryd. He works so hard for us. And also, by the way, too, he delivered the narration on that video just to start tonight's show. So shout out to Alfred. No question about that. Again, they're showing Jaden Daniels tape as well. Some SEC stuff against, I think that looks like Mississippi
Jalen
State.
Daniels go number 1. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that would be.
How about that curveball? Right? Boy, oh boy. Imagine the Bears take like Dallas Turner, like they go full draft day, like full Sonny Weaver.
Well, that's a defense first culture, so I mean, listen, we've seen crazier things happen, but
that'd be crazy.
Craziest thing I've ever seen in the history of the first round is when
none of Caleb Williams' teammates went to his birthday party last year or something like that. That's going to lead to a colossal fall.
He'll fall to like the Jets and be Aaron Rodgers' replacement. I'm sure that would. Yeah,
shit, I wish.
Yeah, but it's better than Zach Wilson, right? It's better than what you got.
Listen, if he falls to 2, Washington is running that. They ain't wasting no time.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, that's right. They're not wasting any time.
No.
Anytime with his old coach and everything, they just running it up.
And I pray to God the Chicago takes him right now, because I don't want to deal with him in the NFC East twice a year. Let's just make that clear. I do not want to see Caleb Williams in my division. I don't.
No, I don't imagine anybody does, but it looks like the NFC North, the Packers, the Lions.
They have team needs on the big screen at the draft. That is crazy. On like the big board. Yeah.
The big board?
They have the Bears logo in the middle, and then on one of the screens on the side, it's like team needs, quarterback, offensive line, defensive. I'm like, wow. The NFL is just straight up telling you what you need.
I'm curious who that's the references off of. Is it off of someone at the NFL Network, ESPN, Pro Football Focus?
I wonder.
Probably, yeah, off of ESPN.
The Bears,
it's on ESPN, right?
Yeah, ESPN, I'm on ESPN. Well, me and Mike are on. What are you on? NFL or ESPN?
I'm on nothing right now, to be honest.
Oh,
I'm going off. I'm going off right now.
Taking our word for it. We can totally lie to you.
See, that right there, that is commitment. That is commitment. He is relying on us to get to give him the information. That a boy, John.
I need it.
There you go.
TV will be on in a minute, but right now, nothing.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I fully expect this to be Caleb Williams. I mean, it
all
really kind of has been this.
Here it is.
I love that sound.
Me
it's
too.
The best sound ever. It is Caleb Williams out of USC. It becomes official. Yep. So Caleb's going to the Chicago Bears, number 1 overall pick. Again, no surprise here. We've known this as we get the repeat chime. I apologize for that.
I'll tell you all
yeah, listen, it's the best.
Need as a ringtone, you know.
It does. So, Mike Guido, your thoughts right off the bat. It becomes official. Caleb Williams is a Chicago Bear. Your thoughts on this right off the bat?
Yeah. I mean, look, 2022 Heisman Trophy winner. He's very clearly, in my opinion, he's the best quarterback in the draft. He's got a great all-around package. Arm talent, he makes every single throw. I mean, listen, Bryson, I was telling you last night on 8 o'clock spot that, I mean, he's making throws, running through to the other side of the field, making throws across his body. Like, it's just remarkable, some of the stuff that he can do. Super athletic, can move outside of the pocket. The issue that I see with him potentially outside of, listen, I've had his emotional maturity concerns ever since the college football season, really. But outside of that, I think one of the things that you can look out for potentially that he needs to develop is he does play a little erratic at times. He tries to be special a little bit too much. But again, when you have that much talent, it's hard to not do that, right? So if you can get him into a system, like I said, where you can reel him in a little bit, make his decision-making a little bit more crisp, then I think this could be a real superstar in this league for a long time. Caleb Williams is the right pick here. And this may be, I mean, Chicago has a real chance here to have the best quarterback they've ever had in uniform right now. So Caleb Williams is a great pick for the Bears.
One of the most mind-boggling stats in history is that in the over 100-year history, the Bears, I think, are the oldest franchise outside the Packers. They have never had a 4,000-yard passer, and they've never had a 30-touchdown passer guy, which to me, like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I mean, I remember, what's his name, in Washington last year, had 4,000, 5,000 yards passing. Forget his name. They traded him to the Seattle
Sam Howell?
Sam Howell. Yeah, Sam Howell. Yeah, it's like, okay, if Sam Howell can do it, then how can none of Chicago's? How can Jay Cutler not do it? It doesn't make sense. But Chicago Bears, high fives all around the draft room. Yeah, there's no question this is the right pick. And listen, like you said, Mike, there is, some people are risk takers by nature. I mean, Caleb Williams is a risk taker with his fashion. He's just not the conventional. He's not a conventional type of dude in many ways.
Listen, you need to be a pretty secure man if you go to a basketball game with pink fingernails and a pink phone case. Listen, man, you got to be fairly secure in yourself with that.
Which you could argue is a tick in the the column for maybe by his standards appears to be, I don't want to say casually dressed, but just kind of the generic. Looks like a dark bluish suit. So there you go.
He came regular, other than he got great.
I actually like Caleb's suit tonight. He actually looks good.
He got great fingernails tonight. So
yeah. He listen. He likes to paint. He's artistic, John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Washington's on the clock now. They got a little under 5 minutes to make their pick.
Here's where the draft starts, fellas. This is I think now I would anticipate Jaden Daniels here, but I don't know that that's for certain. I mean, everybody was convinced. Let me just remind everybody what happened last year. We were convinced that CJ Stroud was going to fall because he tested so poorly prior to the draft, and he ends up going number 2, which is what, again, before all of that stuff happened, that's where everybody kind of anticipated him to go. Everything right now is saying Jaden Daniels, but it is not a guarantee. So interesting here.
No, everything. Go ahead, John.
No, so that's why you gotta love this type of year. You know what I mean? Other than the first figure 2, you don't know what's going on. All the smoke screens leading up to the draft, or other team not to draft a player or trade up or trade down. So yeah, I love it.
Listen, all the sources that I've seen over the past month have said it's going to be Jaden Daniels. Looks like Jay Lewis gave you a shout out, Mike. He says, great draft day callback from the movie. The trades in that movie kept me up in that for a week. Yeah. I'm ashamed to say I've never seen draft day, and I'm going to. I know. I've got that's a terrible admission. I know, but I'm going to watch it eventually.
That's terrible.
I know. I'm sorry to break your heart there.
You should have tuned in. The Can Fan boys did a watch along last night.
Oh, no kidding.
They did a watch along last night. And boy, I was trying to feed them some nuggets yesterday during their live stream. It was kind of funny. Those boys know how to put on a party. They really do. I know they're doing their own show tonight. Yes. I'm sure that's an interesting room to be in.
For sure. No, shout out to the Can Fan guys. They do fantastic work. We got 3 minutes. Washington has not officially made their selection just yet. We'll see if this is.
I'm at 5 minutes and 48 seconds. I'm so behind you.
Take my word for it, Mike. Just take my word for it.
Imagine if they take Marvin Harrison Jr. McLaren over there.
Yeah, that would be a real wrench in the works. They don't really need a wide receiver. I mean,
they don't.
I mean, listen, you can never have that. too many wide receivers. That's a true fact.
Yep.
But it should not be a priority for them this early. They've got guys that can support a young quarterback. So,
one team that I think has to move up or do something in the first round is the Bills. I think the Bills got to do something.
They might.
Oh, they definitely need a receiver.
You want to talk about 8 teams that need receivers? Buffalo is one of them.
Yeah, they definitely.
Could you see quick side story? They just showed Jaden Daniels. He's doesn't look like he's on the phone again. Everybody's high fiving the Commanders draft room. Real quick, just briefly on the Bills. I remember I compared it where Atlanta in 2011 was pretty low in the draft, and then they shot. Or I don't know if it was 2011. It might have been. I forget what year it was when they shot up the list, to the draft to take Julio Jones. Could you see maybe the Bills doing that for like a Malik Neighbors? Heck, maybe the kid out of LSU, what's his name? Edwards.
I don't. Brian Thomas, but I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know that they have the capital to do that. They're far back in the draft. They're in the 28th spot in the draft. I don't know that they're going to be able to get high enough to get one of those top guys. So, I mean, could they get Brian Thomas? Yeah, I expect him to go mid-first round if they can get up to get him. But no, they're not going to get Neighbors. They're not going to get Odunze. Like, I don't think they're going to get any of them.
Yeah, not the top 3, but I think they'll be in play with that 4th one. Like I said, depends how the draft, plays out. But I could definitely see him moving up 5-6 spots to pick up that guy.
Looks like they're panning to the draft, or I'm sorry, to the stage now, as the commissioner is about to announce the selection. So there we go. Let's get the draft chimes. Here we go. Ready for this pick. Goodell makes his way to the stage, showing no signs of back issues. That's good. Jaden Daniels goes to Washington. Okay, so Jaden Daniels, this feels like again, I've been hearing for some time now, and I feel like it's about a 95% plus chance that he's going to go to the Washington Commanders. So, Mike, immediately your thoughts on Daniels to Washington?
Yeah, this was expected. I think that Washington right now is in a position where they want to get a little bit more athletic at this position, right? You want to talk about 2 back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners going in the draft. Caleb Williams won it in 2022. Jaden Daniels was this past year's winner in 2023. Listen, as far as athleticism is concerned, I think he might be the most athletically gifted quarterback in this draft. He's accurate when throwing on the run. He's an outstanding leader. Everybody loves his leadership qualities. Here's the issue that a lot of people say about Jaden Daniels. Now, he's not really undersized. He's 6'4", and he's got decent sized hands. The problem is for me is that he's really, really thin. He's a skinny kid, very slight. He's going to be one of these quarterbacks that's going to, a lot of his living is going to be made on his athletic ability, his ability to stretch plays, run, all of that stuff. He needs to be able to take hits. As far as IQ is concerned, I think he'll develop into a nice player. He's a little thin. He's going to play right away. I think he's going to play right away, but he's thin. I think he's going to need to eventually develop into his own body, and then you've got a real good quarterback on your hands. A lot of upside here with Jaden Daniels.
No question. Your thoughts, Mike?
I'm Mike.
I'm not Mike. John. Already, first misname of the day. Real quick, so before you go, John, not to cut you off, and I totally butchered that. I apologize. No, but it's crazy. They're showing this game, and I remember reading this on Twitter over the last few days, is that Jaden Daniels has been in college football so long that he threw a game-winning touchdown pass to Brandon Ayuk to beat Justin Herbert before COVID was a thing. Yeah. So he's been in college for some time. So
he's got plenty of starts. I mean, Jaden Daniels has been playing college football for a while. He's a very experienced player. Listen, look, he's going to have an impact in the NFL, I think, right away. It's just it's getting into his own body. It's filling out his athletic body. I think that's going to be a real big thing for him going forward.
Yeah, it is.
Once you transition to the league, you know how that goes. They'll put 10, 15 easily on them.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
look throughout the year.
Moving to basketball for a second. I mean, you remember when Porzingis got drafted, Porzingis was as thin as a rail. And the next year, the guy looked like he was beefy, like he was a big dude in just 1 year. It happens quickly.
Yeah. Same for Giannis. Giannis, it took like 2 years before he got that grown man strength.
Well, yeah.
I remember.
Now Giannis is shredded.
Yeah, now he's the man. Yeah, now he's got everything. But yeah, now Jalen Daniels, like you said, leading to it. He was that second pick. Like 1 and 2 was pretty much locked in. Now this is where
the draft starts.
This is when it gets interesting.
This is it right
here. Either May or Harrison right here.
So we got the pick is in. The pick is officially in.
New England Patriots. I think this is Drake May, fellas. This sounds to me like it's Drake May. I've heard they're interested in Drake May. I'm just not, listen, again, not a sure thing, but we'll see.
So, 70-30. 70 Drake May, 30 Marvin Harrison.
You think there's a chance McCarthy goes here?
0.
So a buddy of mine pointed out to me that New England has had success with Michigan quarterbacks. So if they make that connection, just maybe.
But
I don't know about that.
At the same time, there's no regime, no Belichick. If it was Belichick, I'd have gave him a chance.
That's the problem.
Regime.
Yeah, I think it's May here, fellas. I think it's May.
So May right here.
I think
they keep the pick too. I think they keep the pick.
Yeah, well, listen, the pick is in, and so and again, the report from a couple hours ago, stated that they were probably going to keep it, and obviously Arizona's next. Arizona at this point, if it isn't Marvin Harrison, it feels like he's going to go either here or in the next pick, in this draft. But we'll see. So here's what we do know is if. Let's go ahead and real quick. Let's go ahead and put up the draft board because no trade has happened yet. So again, you got New England, Arizona, and you've got the LA Chargers and the Giants. The Giants could take a quarterback. So barring a trade here, Fells, and I don't anticipate the Cardinals would trade the 4th pick if Marvin Harrison Jr. falls to them. That this could be our last quarterback for a few picks.
Maybe.
Listen, May and McCarthy are very different players in the sense that McCarthy is, again, people take this as like a bad word in football, but a game manager type of guy. Well, May is a raw talent. Again, JJ has the higher floor. Drake May has the infinitely higher ceiling. So let's listen. The Patriots tried the low floor, high ceiling thing the high floor, low ceiling thing with Mac Jones, and that was obviously a disaster for a number of reasons. But Drake May is wearing like an identical suit to Jaden Daniels. Like his suit looks exactly like it. Sorry, that just caught my eye off the bat. They're both wearing like light bluish. That's interesting. I guess they were both preparing if they were to go to a blue team, which the Patriots are. So.
Yeah, no, I like Drake May. I like them. I saw probably more of him than I did Daniels.
Here we go. Here's the pick. They go Drake May here with this pick. Okay, so Drake goes to the New England Patriots. They have their franchise guy. Mike, you talked earlier about them going with a very different style of quarterback than they've gone with really for 25 years. So talk about Drake May to the New England Patriots here.
Yeah, I think right now I think at this point with Caleb Williams gone, I had Drake May rated higher than Jaden Daniels. Listen, his arm talent is phenomenal. Not even just for the fact of its strength, but he's very unique with his arm, right? Throws from multiple arm slots. He's one of these guys that can really change speed. He's like a pitcher. Like the guy's like Nestor Cortez, right? He just finds he's any way that he can deliver the football, he will. He's got a ton of touch on his throws. Like I said, there are some throws that he can make that no other college quarterback can make. Again, he's one of these guys that can play a little erratic. He is a little bit tentative with the football. Sometimes he holds on to it a little bit too long. His escapability, I think, needs a little bit of work, but he's super athletic. He's got a great arm. And this is, like I said this before the draft started. New England really had a chance here to take a game-changing quarterback that they haven't had in a long time, right? One of these guys that's just super, super talented where they don't have to worry about his limitations. They can play into his strengths. So I love this for New England. They're finally taking a quarterback that is super talented. It should be a really nice change of pace for them. We could see a very different New England team that we've seen than we've seen in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, and obviously at this point now the focus is going to be, hey, let's get him some weapons. Hey, let's get him some pieces around him. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe they trade into the first round, late to get a wide receiver they like. Maybe they wait in the second round. But John, your thoughts on this? Obviously, the Patriots have caused you a lot of pain over the years. Although guys did finally beat them for the first time and basically retire Belichick. So congrats for that. But your thoughts on the Drake made to the Patriots? Do you think this is the right pick?
Yeah, it's the right pick for sure. He's definitely, like Mike said, I kind of had him over Daniels as well. Like I said, I watched more of his games than Daniels. Daniels came around, last year, strong Heisman, so that's gonna definitely rise up their stock. But May is definitely a good quarterback, man. He's in the right division as far as like comparison wise. Little Josh Allen in them, built wise, and coming out of school, kind of the same type of things. Escapability, a little erratic, but. Good coaching. I think he'll be all right. It's a bad thing that he's coming to my division because if he hit his full potential, now we got to see him for 10 plus years. But yeah, overall, I think New England, just looking at the outside end of the GM, definitely got to start there because they got plenty of holes. But if you don't got no quarterback, you don't got nothing. So.
No, you don't. And listen, you can go a ways if you have a great roster and no quarterback. Like the Browns were in a terrible quarterback situation, got to the playoffs, but obviously there's a hard ceiling on how far you can go there. And again, this is a very different type of player. They took Drew Bledsoe, they took Brady, they tried Matt Jones, kind of their last 3 first-round draft picks. And again, obviously one could not have possibly panned out better. One panned out relatively well in Bledsoe, and one was a bust in Mac. And Drake May is very different than all those guys. So Cardinals on the clock. They got about 4 minutes to make their selection. The pick's not in yet. This has to be Marvin Harrison Jr. Has to be, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine that this is Marvin Harrison Jr. If it's not Marvin Harrison Jr., I'd imagine they're not sticking around. Yeah. Listen, that's the only possibility. I mean, they went for offensive tackle early in last year's draft with Paris Johnson. This is, I think, a perfect scenario where you get yourself a true number 1 wide receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy. This is the bona fide number 1 player in my mind. Waste no time. Take him. Let's get a move on here. Let's do it.
Yeah. Again, I'm surprised. Okay, the pick is officially in. The pick's in for the Arizona Cardinals. There's because of how the draft is played out. This feels almost as obvious as Caleb Williams. It's. I'd be stunned again, like you talked about, and everyone has talked about. Marvin Harrison Jr. is about the most technically sound receiver that we've seen in some time. Again, you talk about hands, like the guy does flat out does not drop passes. Yeah. He's a very crisp route runner, fast guy. My comparison, I could be dead wrong on this, but I see some Devontae Adams in him just from in terms of how he plays. But
a lot of Devontae Adams. I think he is, I thought super highly of Jamar Chase when Jamar Chase came out of the draft. And Marvin Harrison Jr. very easily could be better than Jamar Chase. So you're right. Devontae Adams is a very solid comparison for him. They're built very similar ways. They play in a similar style. So listen, to me, this is a home run. If they make this pick, it's a home run. They got to do this.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And he gets to be paired with an established quarterback in Kyler Murray, who, like you said earlier, Mike, hasn't had a true long-term number 1 wide receiver. D-Hop, as you mentioned, was there. They tried Hollywood Brown. Neither, again, was a long-term fix to a bigger problem for him at that position. But
he definitely. Marvin Harrison is the safest pick in the draft. Him and Joe Alt were like the safest picks in the draft. Yes. So you can't go wrong there.
100%.
Here we go. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals, 4th overall pick, wide receiver, Ohio State. Again, as we just talked about, the most technically sound wide receiver that we've seen in some time. Again, we've waxed poetic. Mike, he's the number 1 player on your board. Tell me what you think about this guy.
Yeah, I think he's the clear number 1 player on my board. He's the Blitnikoff Award winner from this past year. He was a Heisman finalist this past year. Listen, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's a great route runner. Outstanding body control. He can really go up and get the football. And he's honestly, he's a physical player. He can go on the line of scrimmage and block on plays where he needs to block. He's just a very good all-around receiver. He's got enough speed. The issue really with him is that his explosiveness off the line of scrimmage is not 100% there, but He beats people off the line so easily. He beats people late in routes so easily. He's just such a refined route runner. He plays like a true veteran receiver, right? Like, he's going to come into the NFL day one and be a real number one receiver. So I think, like you said, Davante Adams, prime Davante Adams, is something that we could see as his future. Like I said, it's a home run. This is a team that needed perimeter weapons. And I don't expect them to be done in this position either. I think they get Marvin Harrison. I think they dabble in this area again later in the draft. This is a home run pick, absolute home run pick.
Yeah, it is. And Kyler coming off the injury at the end of the year after the ACL, played a lot better. The Cardinals got some nice wins against Atlanta. They got a huge win over Philadelphia that altered the playoff mix. So, we'll see if they're able to build. We all kind of clown their head coaching move, but again, over the second half of the season, you saw them play better football, and that's the mark of a well-coached team. Listen, John, I'm asking you this. Do you think Marvin Harrison Jr., after year two, is a top 5 receiver?
I think he makes the Pro Bowl next year. So
yeah, he's
you know what I mean. I think he makes the Pro Bowl next year, man. 1,000+ yards, 10+ touchdowns. So I think he's gonna have a good year next year. So top 5 in 2 years would be kind of tough, but maybe in 10 he'd be top 5 receiver in the league for sure. But he definitely makes the Pro Bowl next year. Be in that discussion, probably take home the Rookie of the Year. Like I said, put big numbers up. Kyler, one thing, they spread the rock around over there in Arizona, so he'll definitely get the ball.
For sure.
Definitely great pick. Great pick, safest pick, like I said.
Yeah, and a strong argument can be made that he is the best player in this year's draft. Mertstone's correct. Chalk right now. Like, we haven't seen any really big splashes. Again, Drake May is the only one that we felt like we weren't 1,000% sure. Again, I was pretty darn confident Jaden was going to the Commanders. Drake May, JJ, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., we weren't quite sure. They're showing his Marvin Harrison Sr.'s highlights right now, and we knew what he did in the league.
Pretty much is 4 for 4, I would say, with the people have been talking about for a while. Other than the trade, I think these are the top 4 players out in a row without trades that everyone's been talking about for the last month or two. So 4 for 4 so far. This is one. Let's see if Harbaugh trade with somebody for his boy. All that talk, hyping him up, maybe just to get more draft assets. It could work both ways. Instead of hyping him up to get drafted early, instead of the Chargers to get more draft picks, because they need a lot of help over there as well.
They do, and there's about 4 minutes, 40 seconds left on the clock. There's no sign of a pick being in. There's no trades right now.
They are wide open. I'm sure the Chargers are trying like hell to trade this pick at the moment.
No question.
Sure, they're trying. They still talking right now. What you gonna give us? You sure?
No doubt.
Yeah, I think they're one of the top teams that's looking to trade out for sure.
For sure. Looks like we have another addition to the Gryd Network 2024 Draft Reaction Show. It is a massive Giants fan. They're on the clock to pick after this. Would you please welcome the co-host of the Outside the Cage podcast? It is Eric Van Linton. Eric, big Giants fan up in here. Eric, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. I'm excited. It's a day of hope. It's a day of promise. Hopefully my G-men, we get a dog today. We don't get a bust, and we start to turn this ship around. And I think we're going to surprise a lot of people this year. And really? I've got to say, I'm honored to be a part of this draft stream with the Gryd Network. I know you guys put a lot of hard work into this. I'm happy to be a small part.
No, we appreciate you coming on, man. We appreciate you coming on, and obviously you've had a lot of success with your show. We'll as the night goes on, we'll preview and promote shows at the Gryd Network. Very excited to do that as time goes on. But 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, but I said, that's big talk. You think your Giants are gonna surprise people this year, man? That's big talk right there, man. Yep. I'm not even gonna lie.
We were ahead of schedule. We were ahead of schedule 2 years ago, so the bar was set too high for last year.
I agree.
And we had a tough schedule as well, about as tough as it could get. So, yeah, I think we're going to surprise people. I think Brian Daboll's a great coach. I think Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than he showed last year.
Yeah.
And I think our offensive line is also going to improve. And I think Jalen Hyatt is going to break out like I thought he was last year. I know Bryson can agree with me right there.
It's my guy. Listen, Mr. 5 touchdowns against Alabama. That's he will always. He should never have to eat. He should never have to pay to eat in Knoxville for the rest of his life. For all I care. Schefter's reported.
Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport.
Here we go.
Saying right now, the Chargers are picking. There's no trade. Yep. The Chargers are making a pick here.
And they have 2.5 minutes to go. We have nothing still, so they're taking this thing down to the wire.
Yeah, I would say right now it's between two guys. It's the top two guys remaining on my board at the moment. I think they'd be between Malik Neighbors and Joe Alt. Listen, if it were me, I would take Malik Neighbors. Listen, this is a team that let Mike Williams walk. They traded Keenan Allen. Like, this is now a team that is in need of wide receivers, right? Desperate need of wide receivers. So I would tackle that. If you draft Joe Alt, you're sticking him at right tackle, right? Rashawn Slater is your left tackle for the future, for years and years to come. So if I'm the Chargers and I'm making this pick here, I'm taking a weapon. And I think Malik Neighbors is the next best wide receiver. He is a special, special talent.
He is, and obviously his speed is absolutely off the charts, and he gets to go to a situation. Again, we don't see most fifth overall picks in the draft if a quarterback is established as Justin Herbert is, but again, with Harbaugh in the building, we know how quickly he turns situations around. So
but even like you said, with Harbaugh, he might take Joe Alt just to grind it out. You know what I mean? It's a different style of game now in L.A. I was gonna say San Diego, but L.A.
It's still weird.
Yeah,
pick is in. Pick is in. So the Chargers have made their selection.
Ooh, so also, don't be surprised here if J.C. Latham comes off the board here. Do not be surprised.
Been saying his name, like I said, I ain't heard the last 2 days, so we'll see.
Wouldn't be shocked. Again, they're on commercial right now, so we'll see what the pick is when it comes back. Listen, like you said, the Chargers obviously have some needs at wide receiver. They obviously Keenan Allen gone, Mike Williams gone. At this point, I think they're only left with, again, a Tennessee guy, but that's about all they have.
Is their first round pick last year, and he really didn't show much production either. Do they dabble in that position again just to try and maybe give themselves another opportunity to add another pass catcher, maybe take some of the pressure off of Quentin Johnston to produce next year? So again, we'll see about this. I'm interested to see where they go. I don't know. This is an interesting pick here.
Yeah, I'm curious what they do.
And I'm sorry to say it, Eric, but I do think that J.J. McCarthy probably comes off the board to the Giants at 6.
Really?
Don't say that.
I think since the Chargers did not trade it, I think the Giants are taking McCarthy. I just get that feeling.
It looked like it's falling.
I hope you're not right. I really hope you're not right. I hope the Chargers do not take Malik Neighbors here, and I hope that the G-men take Malik Neighbors.
That'd be a great pick. Again, 2 pair with Jalen Hyatt.
You want to talk about a team that needs receivers too. The Giants definitely need receivers.
They need 3 receivers over there.
They need a running back too. They
have a whole roster's worth.
Hey, that's a sensitive spot right there. I'm not ready to talk about the Giants running back situation just yet.
It's too soon. It's too soon.
Threw my Saquon jersey in the trash a little bit ago. It was sad, but you got to do it. If he signed anywhere else, I could support him, but not the Eagles. Not the Eagles.
But it's been happening for years with that.
Here's the pick, guys. Here we go. Joe Alt. They go Joe Alt.
I told you, Mike, with the different style of play.
That's Harbaugh's MO. That's Harbaugh's MO.
Yeah, the different style. I told you.
I mean, listen, you can't really fault it, right? Because he's 6'9", 321 pounds. He's just, I don't know. He's just one of these guys that's so athletic for his size that he's just he's one of these players that is such a specialty when it comes to pass protection. He's such a good shuffler of his feet. He's super strong. He looks like immediately he's going to walk into the NFL and be a Pro Bowl offensive lineman. He's just so agile. One of the things that he struggles with really is he's not as, I guess, I don't want to say technically sound, but his hand usage could get a little bit better as far as that's concerned. But Joe Alt is one of these guys where I think if you slot him in, look, Rashawn Slater is their left tackle of the future. Yep. You're putting Joe Alt at right tackle. I mean, you do not be surprised if very, very quickly you see Joe Alt become one of the few best the few best right tackles in the game right out of the gate. He could really thrive in that position. So, and now look at this. if you're Justin Herbert, you're loving this now, right?
Of course.
Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt. I mean, you are protected on the edge, no doubt.
Do you have it real quick before I, transition to Giants and get thoughts around the board? Do you have at 6'9"? Do you have a comp for him?
I don't really have a comp. I didn't do comps for the NFL. I only do comps for the NBA. But he's a big, big tackle who's very strong and very athletic. He's going to make a difference right away. Right.
Yeah, he's got special talent.
Yeah, he just like I said, him and Marvin Harrison, the two solid, safest picks in the draft. He can make the Pro Bowl next year and all that real fast. So. Now, who picks next? The Giants?
Okay.
The Giants are right. Eric, your thoughts?
Man, I just really hope the Giants take Malik Nabers here. I believe we will. The reason that I don't want us to take a quarterback is because we have the 6th pick in the draft. So we can get a really good player, but we'd be getting the 4th best quarterback in this draft. And not a top 20 or probably top 30 player in the draft. I think we could sign a guy. I think we could take a guy next year. If Jones doesn't do well, we'll probably have a high pick again. And I just believe Malik Nabers is special. He might be the 2nd best player in the whole draft class. And if we could get him at 6 at a position that we desperately need help at, I think it's a no-brainer. And I think Joe Shane is a sharp general manager. I think Dable's a great head coach, and I think they're going to make the right call here and go Malik Nabers.
Yeah, I mean, I hope. Although I will say, I did see an interview where he didn't seem to be ecstatic about the idea of going to the Giants. But listen, my gosh, the crowd's in real quick. The crowd's in Detroit. Holy smokes, that is. I mean, that's. I think they said like 4. I saw something that said like 400,000 people were attending or something crazy.
Man, a little ahead of me. That's crazy.
Hey, man, listen. It's Detroit, especially football. I ain't did nothing a long time. But yeah, now Giants.
So
listen,
here,
O was gone, so Giants should definitely go receiver for sure.
So real quick here, Adam Schefter saying that in recent weeks, both the Patriots and Vikings reached out to the Chargers to see if they had any interest in trading Justin Herbert, and the answer was very quickly a flat no.
Yeah, you think?
You think?
You don't just find Justin Herberts.
No, that's true.
Nah.
You do not just find Justin Herbert.
But that's just rebuttaling. It don't matter really where you pick your quarterback, man. You got to pick the right one.
They just showed, and again, some of this is taken out of context, but I do enjoy reading the room whenever they're showing a prospect. J.J. McCarthy just had a really big smile on his face. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I think it now, Eric, I'm with you. I wouldn't do it. I think J.J. McCarthy is a little bit more overrated than most people think. I would take Malik Nabers if I were them. But everything that you're hearing right now is that J.J. McCarthy to the Giants, if he's available, is a thing.
That would be mind-blowing. Again, okay, here comes the commissioner. So here comes the pick.
You guys got me all nervous now.
Yo.
Like I said,
here it is.
It wasn't a surprise.
Malik Nabers, you got your guy, Eric.
Malik Nabers to the Giants.
There you go.
Very nicely done.
Let's go, baby.
Love this pick.
Me too. I think this is a great pick.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right. Thoughts on Malik Nabers, Mike?
Yeah, if you want to talk about body control, this is one of those guys that is just so good at going up and getting the football. He's not even the biggest guy. He's a 6-foot receiver, but he plays so much bigger than he is, right? He has the speed. I think he's right there with everybody else. He's such a phenomenal big play receiver, plays with a ton of physicality, good route runner. One of the things that he struggles with, and this is, everything that I've read about Malik Nabers to this point, and most of it is a consensus, is that his catch radius isn't great, but he's so physical at the point of attack, right? He's so physical at the top of the ball point that he's just like, he'll go up and get a football and just out physical you. He's like a center. He just boxes people out and goes and gets the football. So this is a great pick. Like I said, he's my number 3 overall player. I really grew to like Malik Nabers in evaluation. I'm stunned they didn't go quarterback. I honestly am. I was really thinking that they would go quarterback, but this is definitely the right move. Malik Nabers is the guy that they should have taken. This is a great pick.
ESPN had me fooled there with the look at McCarthy.
Smoke screens. They love the smoke screens.
They do. Eric, your thoughts on this? You got a real number one receiver now.
I'm truly happy. Last time we drafted a wide receiver from LSU, we all saw how it went.
Pretty good.
Come on, baby. This is amazing, man. People were texting me asking who I want. I said, in a dream world, Jaden Daniels, if that somehow happened, but that's not going to happen. So let's get Malik Neighbors, baby. And
so here we go. By the way, here we go. The J.J. McCarthy slide, I think, has officially started.
Well, Tennessee's not taking him because they got Levis.
Tennessee isn't taking him. I think Tennessee, I think, got screwed here. Because think about it for a second. Everybody knew they wanted Joe Alt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was expecting them to also be in a position where they could take Malik Neighbors, and they don't have him either. So now where do you go? Are you going to go offensive line? Do you
Latham.
take guys?
It's Latham, guaranteed.
Do you take Latham? Do you take Fuaga? Do you take Olufashanu? Like, there are options at offensive tackle here. Do you take Rome Odunze? Like, these are options. Do you take Brock Bowers, right? Like, Brock Bowers, this is a team that doesn't really have a tight end. So,
sure.
Do you take, they have a lot of options here, but I think genuinely most of the league was expecting for the Giants to take J.J. McCarthy. And again, the Titans are now kind of sitting flat-footed saying, okay, now we kind of have to go with our backup options here. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think they definitely they definitely stuck right now. They probably had their fifth or fourth player on the board for sure. Pretty sure they thought Alt was going. They was going to land Alt for sure. Like I said, I'm a Jets fan. I wanted Alt, and all the mock drafts had Tennessee getting Alt. Now, the other.
I had Tennessee getting Alt.
I think everybody did. Yeah,
I had Tennessee getting Alt.
So yeah, they definitely stuck in that position. They're calling teams desperately because, like I said, with the O linemen, they could definitely get them O linemen at any spot from now to 15. And get a solid one. It's not a big difference on the lineman.
I think you have to go lineman here, though. Tennessee's got one of the worst offensive lines of the league. You got a young quarterback you think could be the answer in Will Levis. Obviously, you do have D-Hop already. Like, it's not like you're screwed at receiver. You got D-Hop. They also went, I'm forgetting the guy's name, but at Arkansas they took a year ago. What's the guy's name? Really nice, talented.
They just paid Calvin Ridley all that money.
Calvin,
Calvin
Ridley.
Talking about receiver,
Calvin Ridley.
Receiver,
Traylon Burks.
Burks, yep.
Traylon Burks.
I like him.
They got Pollard over there, so this is obvious. They got to go O-line.
Yeah. So the picks in.
Listen, we all saw the reports that said this could be a draft that is loaded with trades. And at the moment, we are pretty chalked up. Like, there's not a lot of action going on here.
No, there's not.
Very interesting. And Tennessee's in, right? Tennessee's pick is in. So they're going right here.
Listen, if like I said, if Doomsday fall to us, we'll take them. If not, we'll probably want them teams to trade back.
One team that I would look out for to potentially trade back is Chicago, because this is a team. Chicago at the moment has 4 picks in the draft. That's it. They have 4 picks, and that's including their number 1. They have not 1, 9. I think they have like 75 and a pick in the 120s. They could really use some more picks. So do not be surprised if Chicago is the team that trades back just to get more picks.
You think they make a deal with Minnesota?
In their own division? I don't know.
Hey, I said that earlier.
But if Minnesota really likes somebody.
Did I say that earlier? But at the same time, Minnesota's looking like
do the Colts jump into the Bears spot to nab the pass catcher ahead of the Jets? That's what I'm going to be interested to see.
Brock Bowers.
That's what I've been hearing. That's what I've been hearing. Them grabbing one of them receivers, another receiver. Bill Richardson over there. So, but
I got to tell you, Eric, I'm a little behind Bryson right now, and so I'm seeing Malik Neighbors highlights right now. I just love him as a receiver, dude. He just looks the part, dude. They're comparing him right now to Jamar Chase, and it's not a dumb comparison.
Cool.
It's really not. This is a really, really solid player.
Come on. I mean, a lot of people had him as the second best player on the board, right? Just not situationally, but overall rankings. It's amazing, man. It's a dream come true. Christmas came early this year for us.
And Dable's a great coach, and so You know, you got all those.
We saw what he did with the Bills offense. He kind of built Josh Allen up because Josh Allen wasn't anything crazy when he first got there. Yeah. And in Dable's first year with Daniel Jones, we saw a lot of progression. The second year, obviously, we know what happened. But I'm not fully off of the Danny Dimes train yet. Let's give it one more year. Now he's got a legit star receiver. Oh.
Listen, I was.
Go ahead, John. No, I'm about to say, Danny ain't no bum, man. So I won't be surprised if he have a decent year next year, whatever like that, and they have to come to this next scenario next year again. But I think a decent year.
Yeah, if you throw for over 300 yards in the playoffs on the road, I'm not saying the Vikings defense was anything special, but you still got to show up and do the damn thing, and he did.
And he was good with his legs, too. I mean, listen, that season, it was 15 touchdowns. I was blown away. 15 touchdowns, get you $160 million. I was just...
Hey, listen, like you said, that Minnesota game got him that check. When you're doing
it did.
Throwing and running, come on, man.
Yeah.
So I believe he'll have a decent year next year. Now you got a weapon to throw to. They'll still address other things. So
yeah, I did not like those press conferences, though, where he looked like he was on PCP or something when he was just like, what are you doing, Danny Dimes? Eli never did that.
Hey, man, so Eli doing it now. You see commercials and stuff and other things.
Yep.
Eli living the dream right now.
He took a page out of his brother's handbook.
Right.
Sure. To a degree, yes. And again, he knew Eli, knows Eli, so you know that helps as well from the Manning Passing Academy.
Right. That's what got him drafted so high.
It did. No, that was one of the most surprising picks. Because I remember that was, gosh, he went top 10. Didn't he go number 6?
I think he was 6. That's why I was scared we were going to take a quarterback again at 6.
Yeah,
might be cursed.
Hey, I looked out like they got who? I was getting a pizza from Pontillo's. I don't know if you know Pontillo's, but
I was watching Avengers Endgame when that happened. So I saw Tony Stark die, and I was sad about that. And I came out of the theaters, and I saw we took Daniel Jones, and I was like, "What?"
That's a rough stretch there for you, buddy.
Terrible, man.
All right, here we go. Here's Tennessee's pick. They go J.C. Latham here, so they go offensive line.
Wow,
and they go the tackle at Alabama. I really like this kid a lot, Mike.
Yeah, he's he's a big kid, 6'6", 340 pounds. Another one of these guys that is just super athletic for his size. And again, as far as his strength is concerned, combined with his athleticism, he just has all of that. Super high IQ player. He's just a very experienced player as well. You know, he's not the strongest run blocker in the world. He's specializes more as a pass blocker. But listen, this is not a bad consolation prize. This was one of those picks where you knew that even as early as this morning, J.C. Latham was skyrocketing up boards. This was going to be a guy that was going to be taken earlier than most people expected. Listen, I had J.C. Latham as the 16th best player on my board, but listen, I had a feeling that this was going to be around where he ended up, around this top 10-ish kind of area. So it's a good pick. I know they wanted Alt, but J.C. Latham is not a bad player.
No, he's not. He's a tremendous pass blocker, like you said, and especially so Levis can move somewhat. I was just thinking, I'm looking at highlights now. I'm thinking, okay, he's protecting for a guy in Alabama who's very mobile himself and likes to scramble. So, you know, that's not really Will Levis. But listen, Tennessee, Carolina, to me, those two teams actually closest to where I live. I don't know, maybe I cursed them, but have two of the worst offensive lines in all football. So they had to address this position. And listen, oh my goodness, J.C. Latham just like lifted Roger Goodell to the high heavens just now. I hope he's aware of the back surgery, because
that's all right. I'll see it 3 minutes later.
That's good. So listen.
Eric is still glowing over Malik Neighbors right now. I can see it on his face, dude. He's smiling ear to ear right now.
Yeah,
right.
EVL feels good right now, man. I'm telling you.
I'm not even going to be sad about the Lakers losing later.
Well, it's a formality, so enjoy your moment now, because it's going to get worse.
I'm a Laker fan, but I'm not a LeBron fan. It doesn't even hurt as much right now. Once LeBron leaves, I'll be fully back on the Laker train. But
so are you a Laker fan before LeBron then?
Yeah, I'm from Southern California, so I'm all LA teams, but there's no LA football team, so I went with the Giants as a kid.
Right.
There you go. So Atlanta's on the clock. Atlanta's on the clock now.
Now there's two of them.
Yeah. No, Atlanta's on the clock now. So listen, they signed Kirk Cousins. They got Bijan. They got Kyle Pitts. They've got Drake London. They've got a good offensive line. They're set offensively. At this point, listen, they got a defensive head coach in Raheem Morris. Do they go defense here? They were pretty good defensively last year, but do you think they go defense?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is probably where the first defensive player comes off the board, and they can go in any area they want. Really, I mean, this is a solid corner draft. It's a I would say it's a decent edge draft. I wouldn't say it's a high end edge draft, but somebody like Dallas Turner, I think could make sense here. An edge rusher out of Alabama. I know that Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo is really going to be, I think a lot of people view him as the top corner. So either one of those guys. I have Dallas Turner rated as my number 8. Quinyon Mitchell's my number 14. So again, it depends on, who you like on the defensive side, but that's, I think, where they go here. I think the first defensive player of the night comes off the board right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Turner's a very rangy player, so yeah, that'd be a good fit for him on that turf in Atlanta.
Yeah, like you said, every mock draft had them taking Turner. So I think that's the way they go, unless they trade back and get some more picks, because they about to lose picks for that tampering with Kirk Cousins.
I do not buy the quarterback stuff with Atlanta. They just signed Kirk Cousins. They're going to see how that plays out first, and then they'll address it in a year or two.
Right, they're good.
How
about Jared Verse, though? How about Jared Verse?
I think Jared Verse is going to fall. He's a good player. I have Jared Verse ranked as my 13th overall player, but everything that I've heard is that he's going to fall. So I don't know that he's going to be the first edge player taken. There's a chance that Dallas Turner is the first edge player taken, and we don't see another one for a number of picks.
No, I remember 2 years ago. It's kind of the reverse of this year's draft, where it was just edge rushers all over the place. And right. I mean, the first quarterback off the board, I had to suffer through it, was Kenny Pickett. And I mean, the best QB in that draft ended up being Brock Purdy, who was the very last pick of the draft.
Very last pick. That's right.
Looks like Eric. He says these Kobe stands are impossible. So listen, I love Kobe too. Come on, Browns go.
Yeah, it's just the closest team to me geographically too. So it was either them or the Clippers.
Yeah, you can't pick the Clippers. If you picked the Clippers, Barry Grant Jr. would dump you in a second.
Yeah, I don't think nobody grew up as a Clippers fan. You were either forced to it.
No,
everybody grew up a Laker fan in LA for sure.
I've met a couple of them out here, but it's far and few between. There's a lot of Lob City Clipper fans, at least for my age group, because I was 12 when that happened. So a lot of people jumped over them. They were almost more popular for a bit then because the Lakers were terrible at the time.
That's true.
End of Kobe's career.
Yeah, for sure. It was 100% more popular than Lakers. And Blake Griffin and CP and all them.
Here's Atlanta's pick. Commissioner's making his way to the board, or to the podium, to the board. Yeah, he's telling best available. Wow, Michael Penix Jr.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, that's my guy right there.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, we got our first shakeup in the draft. Wow.
Holy moly. That I did not expect.
You see it. Give me. Put it on.
That I thought he was. I was kind of hoping he'd fall to Pittsburgh.
They just signed. They just signed Kirk Cousins.
They could have got Penix for like 30 for the second round. I had to put my son a Hot Wheel helmet on.
Listen, it looks like a lot of scouts were heavier on, we're hiring him, or just as high on him as I was. Listen, I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft. I think he throws a beautiful ball. He's great in the pocket, accuracy, arm strength. Guido, your thoughts on our first shocker of this NFL draft?
Yeah, this is definitely a shocker. I'll tell you that. Michael Penix was my number 25 overall player. Listen, left-handed throwing, really strong arm. He's one of these guys that just throws a really beautiful football, like you said, fits balls into tight windows, really tough, both physically and mentally, high IQ player. Here's the thing. He's a very typical pocket passer. He's very good maneuvering within the pocket. He's not super athletic. He's not one of these guys that's going to escape pressure with among the best in the league. And one of the things that people worry about is that he's really had some injury history. He had 4 season-ending injuries in his college career. So this is one of those things where you're taking a risk on health here, but at the same time, I mean, he throws a really beautiful football. He obviously doesn't need to play right away. I think that there could be listen, they're paying Kirk Cousins a lot of money, but this is going to be one of those things where I think he could really challenge him for that job. That's a really interesting pick because I don't know. This seems to me like he's a pretty pro-ready player.
I love this kid.
This is gutsy, man. Michael Penix is a gutsy pick here.
You think they're like trading Kirk after a year or something?
I don't know. But
this
Jordan
Love 2.0.
This was something else. I did not see that coming at all.
No. Hopefully he proved me wrong. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but at 8, bro. At 8?
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
I'm telling you, guys.
No, he
now
can
that he goes to
rock.
Atlanta with these weapons, I'm telling you.
Bryson is ready to stake his claim.
Love this kid.
On this guy right now.
Love him.
Love
him.
This game in the playoffs against Texas was the best performance I've seen in college from a quarterback that I could remember in a pretty long time.
Yeah.
He was throwing every ball perfectly that game. The Natty wasn't pretty, but that Texas game in the semis was insane.
Wow, I am stunned that they won Penix.
I am going to Seattle late in the round, first round.
That's
Chicago. Chicago's on the clock and the pick is in, so they're not going to trade this.
Wow, so they're not trading it. No trades. So I'm stunned by that.
Well,
this first round is 5 or 6 flying.
We about to listen. If they don't take our boy, then we'll trade. We're looking for more.
So Romo Dunze is.
I think that's the pick, Mike. I think they go with Dunze.
We want Dunze.
Something that I've heard also to keep in mind as well is a player that is really shooting up boards is Texas defensive tackle Byron Murphy. Do not be surprised if you see somebody like that go in this spot as well. They really like him. They really want to beef up that defensive line as well. They've added Keenan Allen. They have DJ Moore. The urgency for a wide receiver is not all that big at the moment. This is a luxury for them. So we'll see what they do, but that's going to be really interesting to see going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, I believe they loaded at a receiver. I mean, you can add more riches to it, but you can add something to another need at a high.
You look perplexed, Bryson.
I'm still recovering from the Penix pick. I'm
lost for words on that.
Yeah, that really took me by surprise. I did not see that coming at all.
Here's Chicago's pick.
Oh wow, already?
Yeah, this is quick.
They're not playing.
Okay, they go Roma Dunze here. That's what I thought. I thought they'd go with this guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so
sorry about that, John.
Yeah, so the first trade is coming, and it's going to be the Jets trading back.
You don't think they'll take an offensive lineman here?
No, but like I said, the next couple of them are equally, rated. I would say in our boards and every little Jets media stuff I've been watching, they all, pretty much rated the same. I think it's one cat. They got the Penn State cat that they've been talking about. He's supposed to go higher than the Alabama guy, and then we actually like the kid from Oregon State. I forgot his name. We really like him, but we can get him later down if we trade down. So
Fuaga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So either way,
Mike, before you analyze, actually, you know what? Go ahead and okay. So we've got our first trade of the night.
Oh.
The New York Jets have traded the 10th overall pick to the Minnesota Vikings.
I told you.
You called that.
Good call, John.
I told you.
Wow.
We're going to be the first team to trade out, man.
Okay.
Okay, real quick, though, your thoughts on Odunze, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he draws a lot of comparisons to Keenan Allen. He's one of these players that's just such a refined route runner, a great body control. He's great after the catch. He's one of these guys where, he doesn't look like he's all that fast, but when he's running downfield, nobody catches him. Like he's just one of those players where, you get almost confused by his speed. He does have trouble in some instances in creating space. And that might just be due with a lack of off the line of scrimmage explosiveness, but it's an interesting player here. Like I said, this is a luxury for them. They view this as the future of that position, I would imagine. So it's a good pick. I mean, you try to support Caleb Williams as much as you can. He's a good player.
This might be one of the better number one overall pick situations we've seen in some time, just given the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the pieces. He's got plenty of them.
No, he definitely got the pieces. Great pick for them. Hooray to them. They can get out that Keenan Allen contract after 1 year. That's big money. You got to pay him. So if it doesn't work, they can get out of it. What we got for the trade? What we got back?
Oh, it looks like I'm looking at ESPN's board, and they only show the current pick and then the next two. It says Minnesota. Okay, for a second it said Minnesota. Now it says Minnesota Jets. So y'all just went back a pick. I don't know.
We probably got a third. We probably got a third back, maybe.
No details on the trade just yet.
Listen, what I'm trying to say is, look, we went back one spot. We still can get our guy. Who else wants to make a trade? Come on.
I think this Minnesota's taking a quarterback here.
This
right?
is McCarthy. I bet it's McCarthy, Mike.
I would really bet that it's McCarthy.
1,000%.
I would really bet at this point that this is McCarthy.
1,000% they taking McCarthy. You don't move up for nobody else, especially in Minnesota. They need a quarterback.
And listen, if he goes here, this is a ready-made situation. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Jordan Addison over there as well. He's got Aaron Jones. He's got a good running game. Defense was much, much better under Brian Flores a year ago. They've got a good coach in O'Connell. Again, now that Penix is off the board, and that's my guy. So now you basically just have Bo Nix and McCarthy. If you had to ask me between those two, I'd probably go Nix, but McCarthy feels like who they're going to go with here.
Dang, so that means Bo Nix.
Okay, here we go. We go. Here's the trade. Mike Garafolo 2 minutes ago. The Jets are getting picks number 11, 129, and 157 in exchange for 10 and 203.
That's a haul. To go one pick? And the Jets weren't going to take McCarthy either. I wouldn't think, right?
No, not even.
I mean, I know Rodgers has 1 year left, but it's
not even in Harbaugh's dream to come to New York. But no, like I said, man, now we can take Bowers if we want to, add him to Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Like I said, we still got offensive linemen we could pick up, all that.
Well, hey, listen, honestly, keep this in mind too. If you're Minnesota, right, you just got an extra first-round pick. If you really like J.J. McCarthy, now you got 2 first-round picks, right?
Why
you didn't have to do anything.
You said wait? You think you had to wait for him? Or
well,
you got to pick him. No, they got to pick him.
They didn't have to trade up
because they didn't have to go up to like 5 or 3.
No, they didn't have to give up their other first round.
Right? Yeah.
So they go this and what? O lineman?
Or
defense.
I think maybe even defense. I'd even think maybe defense for them as well. They really need corners. This is a team that has a few.
So they're good then. So they're good then. Yeah, like you said, there's definitely a dream scenario for Minnesota because they were talking about, like I said, giving up them 2 first.
They lost Daniil Hunter too. Don't be surprised if that 23rd pick
that's a big
is
loss,
an edge rusher as well. Don't be surprised if this is an edge rusher. I mean, Michael Penix, I think threw everybody's mind into a complete fadoodle. So I don't know.
Which color didn't go to Atlanta, so maybe they come up and get him.
That's right.
That's true. Dallas Turner or Jared Verse. They could real quick. Eric said, "Eric, Barry's taking your Lakers pass away for the LeBron shots."
Is he in the Bus family or something? Does he have authority to do that? I'm pretty sure I could. If I wanted to go to the game right now, I could hop in my truck and be there in like 2 hours, probably 3 with traffic. But I don't think Barry has that ability. So,
ouch!
Wow,
I'm in the mix over here.
Hello.
I thought that was Barry hopping in right now. I wish it was.
He could. Knowing Barry, he could come out and like scare us all at any second. You never know.
Money in the bank contract type stuff.
Yep. So again, Minnesota pick this.
Listen, it's a win-win for both of us. Like I said, Minnesota didn't have to give up their second first round pick. We gained draft capital that we didn't have a lot. So
the Jets feel pretty comfortable here, I think. Like they
look
at their spot, and they're just like, listen, our guy is still there. We feel comfortable here. That kind of leads me to believe, John, also that they might be looking at offensive line because if the Vikings they wouldn't move back, I think, if they were really in on Bowers. Like that's not something that I think you can take lightly there. So, and again, Minnesota's likely trading up for a quarterback, but again, it's one spot. I mean, they could have very easily stood pat, and that's it.
And McCarthy is real quick. This is notable. McCarthy and his girlfriend, I guess, are both smiling. Again, I'm 0 for 1, so you never know.
Yeah, seriously, you're 0 for 1 on McCarthy smiles.
Yeah,
you really are.
I'll say this: the Vikings draft room doesn't look Hyped.
I'm gonna get you a T-shirt, Bryson, that says "Draft Room Smiles" on it. That's what I'm gonna do.
The first time I did it was Justin Fields a few years ago. Like, they kept showing Justin Fields, and then when they showed that his living room's empty, I'm like, oh yeah, the Bears definitely took him here. Real quick, before the pick is announced, EJ Savage of Boys in the Zone is joining us right now on the Gryd's 2024 NFL Draft Reaction Show.
What up?
Oh, Barry's just joined us too. Here we go. Just out of nowhere.
You just said it.
Whisper.
Oh, look
You
at
just
this.
said it. Look, Money in the Bank. He said he called it.
I am like Candyman when you say Braun's name. Okay, like Candyman.
Sure.
Hey, we don't need to run up his mileage this year. There's no point.
No, listen, we not going to talk about Braun tonight. It's all NFL draft. I'm gonna give you a pass. I don't understand what Atlanta is doing with
Y'all are tripping on this one, man. I'm telling you.
The only reason why it's not the fact that the kid is not good, Bryson. The fact is he's an older quarterback. He's going to have to sit for a couple of years. Even if you want to move on from Kirk Cousins, you still gave him a guaranteed 3 years. By the time Penix starts, how old is he? You got to think about these things. So it's like I understand that you like them. It just didn't make sense for Atlanta there. It just didn't.
How much does the money that you're giving Kirk Cousins hold the Falcons back from giving Penix what he needs to succeed? Now, listen, they're in a position right now where they do have offensive talent, right? Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Like, they have offensive talent, but if the time comes where they need to start paying guys and really improving that roster, does the Kirk Cousins contract hold you back?
Oh, 100%. 100% it does, Mike, because even if they want to move on from a Kirk Cousins, that cap hit that they're going to take is going to be massive. Right. So, you know.
Terrible. Penix will be 43 in 3 years.
They're doing some sort of, I guess, charity thing, right? They usually do this a couple times in the first round. I'll never forget when the Jets did this a year ago. It was like some Make-A-Wish kid, and Alfred was like, "Shut up, kid! Announce the pick." It's like, oh, come on. But Alfred did a heck of a job, though. Alfred did a heck of a job narrating that video.
Yeah, we did.
I agree with Alfred with that. Get that kid out of there.
Here it is.
McDonald's, so it wasn't a good draft.
JJ McCarthy goes to Minnesota. I don't like this pick at all personally, but this is not surprising given how the draft has played out. Your thoughts on this, Mike?
Yeah, I listen. I think JJ McCarthy, and I remember when we were doing the mock draft special, me and EJ Savage had sort of a similar opinion on this. I think that JJ McCarthy was going to be very overdrafted. I just, like I said, before the draft started, I don't remember watching a Michigan game and seeing JJ McCarthy wow me. Like, he never made a throw that made me go, like, that made my eyes pop. He just didn't do that, right? Yeah. He's a good athlete. Arm is fine. I just listen, everything that people must be seeing in him must be mental, right? Like, his processing must be super, super good. That's the only thing is and I'm sure EJ can attest to this too. Everything that I see from him is pretty average. Arm strength, average. Arm accuracy is pretty average. Athleticism's pretty average. Like, this is a little bit of a reach for me. To me, he's a second-round prospect. So I'm not in love with Minnesota spending a premium. I knew somebody was going to do it, but I'm just, I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Me either. I'm not a fan
Neither
at all.
am I. But again, the good news is it's not like he's going to New England where it's a desert there. There's no weapons at all. Again, he does have Justin Jefferson. He does have Addison. He does have Aaron Jones. So again, the weapons are like Hawkinson as well. So again, it's a ready-made situation. I think they have a really, really good head coach and a good defensive coordinator. The problem is he is now, I don't think it's remotely debatable. He's absolutely the worst quarterback in the division right now, or starting quarterback in the division. I mean, Sam Darnold may start day one. Who knows? But I'm with you. I've been skeptical of him from the jump, but I don't love him. I like that Minnesota didn't have to give up a second first rounder for him, but I don't love this pick.
I don't think nobody likes it, but not even Minnesota.
What do you
think?
Their
draft room wasn't excited, so they just had to take him because they needed a quarterback.
But hey, I'm 1 for 2 on JJ McCarthy smiles, though. I'm just saying.
They had to make Justin Jefferson happy, man, and bring him QB. At least some type of hope. You know what I mean?
It's very interesting. Very interesting pick. Okay, so
I can't hear EJ. Oh, EJ's muted.
Oh, is EJ muted?
Yeah, EJ muted this
He
whole
was
time.
spitting over there too. I can.
There we go. There we go, EJ.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I think JJ McCarthy is going to be a better Daniel Jones.
Come on.
That's the height of it.
Eric's like,
sorry.
Eric's like, man, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Is he going to be better than Tom Brady too?
No. I
I
think he has the athleticism. I think that he can make some plays on third down. I'll say that. Whenever I was watching him, he did seem to have a kind of a gamer factor to him where he comes up in big moments. But yeah, kind of just what Mike was saying. He doesn't wow you in any facet of the game. But I think he's going to be a good quarterback, never a great quarterback.
So you basically saying Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Kirk's better than a better Daniel Jones, but sure.
Yeah.
They just
I think
get
Kirk
rid of
is-
Kirk Cousins to draft Kirk Cousins.
Kirk
Is that
Cousins,
really
yeah.
what we're asking?
A
Right
lot
now?
cheaper.
well,
It is cheaper.
he's a lot more athletic than Kirk, though.
He is. You're right. That's true. That's
And
true.
I
I
like
think
that.
I trust Kirk's arm a little bit more than McCarthy, though, too. Like that's the thing is, I
Yeah.
just, and again, I remember we talked about this the other night. I just don't ever remember a point where JJ McCarthy jumped off the page for me, right? Like when you watch Caleb Williams jumps off the page. When you watch Drake May play, there are some throws that Drake May makes where you're just like, okay, there's nobody else in college football that can make that throw. JJ McCarthy just seemed like he was a regular college quarterback to me. No?
Within a system, within a great running system and a great O-line.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird matchup because the Vikings love to run those mesh concepts, those deep crosses and stuff like that. And I don't know that that's necessarily JJ McCarthy's best
Jets
throws.
pick.
Right.
Jet, not to cut you off, EJ, but the Jets pick us up. John, quickly, who do you think it is?
Fuaga.
A lineman. I don't know which one, but a lineman.
Olaf Fasanu from Penn
That's
State.
a great
Fascinating.
pick.
Great pick
I'll
by
take
the
it.
Jets. Great pick.
I take it.
They don't go receiver. They don't go Bowers. They go with the smart, mature pick to protect Aaron Rodgers. Love this
I
pick.
think this dude's a beast. I really do. I think Olu Fashanu, and I understand that there were some pre-draft concerns with him. I love him as far as size is concerned. He plays with a ton of effort. He's super athletic for the position. He's a strong kid. He can move around in the run game. He's a really good run blocker. I think this guy's an all-around superstar potential left tackle in this league. He's my number 6 overall player. Olu Fashanu can really, really play.
He's a fridge mover, Mike.
He's a fridge mover.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that's what I call guys that are on the offensive line that are beasts. When they can move fridges, that means that they're big bodies and they're not going to go anywhere. So fridge mover.
Yeah, that's my answer, man. Yeah,
John, your thoughts?
Like I said, I'm happy, man. I'm happy. Like I said, we went down one and still got our guy. Like we were saying,
that's
we had 3 guys that we could have chose from. Bowers. That's the sexy pick, obviously. To add to Rodgers. But hey, if Rodgers ain't sitting up right, you can't throw it to him anyway, right? So just add to the lineman help, man. Like I said, we need a lineman for the next 10 to 20 years, not for the next 6 games. You know what I mean?
I actually have a question for EJ here because I remember when we were doing the mock draft special that if they took an offensive lineman, they could potentially kick him into guard. I think Fashanu's a tackle.
Yep.
Do you see
Straight
that
tackle for me?
Do you think they? Well, I'm judging by your response right there. Do you think there's a chance they kick him into guard to start his career, or do you think they just play him as an emergency in case Tyron Smith gets hurt?
I think somehow they're going to figure out a way to get him on the field because, he's too good not to.
He's too good.
I don't think he's good enough in the run department